Is the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Marlin Independent School District held this day, May 29th, 2020, in the Marlin Middle School Library. The subjects will to be discussed or considered or upon which any formal action may be taken are listed on our agenda. Items do not have to be taken in the same order as shown on the meeting notice unless removed from the consent agenda. Items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on one at a time. I'm sorry, will be acted on at one time. Let's make that clear. Roll call. Mrs. Terry.
Present.
Billy Johnson.
Present.
Danny Vickers. Let the record show there is a 100% attendance, quorum present. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a short moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any public comments? No public comments, and we'll move on to item 6, which is update the investment or an update on the investment policy resolution.
Good afternoon. You see before you is the 1920 investment policy. We've already gone through it and it's been approved, but there was an old version. There was some HD3 update. So this is the update for the new, this is the new version of with all the updates in it.
Okay. Any discussion?
Is there anything we should note, whatever was changed? Like we
No,
should
so
have
there's
done?
no changes.
Okay,
It's
just-
this superintendent is still the CEO.
Okay. Any other discussion? Anything you want to add to it?
No, sir, the guidance and the updates did come from TEA, so we're able to notice what was new and then add it to our actual report for you all.
Okay,
We need to move to approve this.
we do.
Okay. Mr. Vice President, I move that we approve the investment policy as presented to us.
A second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the investment policy revisions. Would anybody have any other discussion about it? If not, then we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it, 3-0. Well, let's move on to, I believe closed session is next.
Number 7.
I'm sorry, excuse me, cybersecurity training for board managers, excuse me.
All right, good afternoon. House Bill 3834 requires cybersecurity training for anyone or any government entity, but specifically they do mention board managers and board of trustees. And so we're going to cover that part of it. And then following this training, we'll be 100% covered for House Bill 3834 compliance, and I'll be able to submit to the state that we are covered. So cybersecurity training. After this training, we'll be able to identify some good security habits and procedures, identify information security threats, address and report information security threats, and then this will also serve as our compliance. Information security essentially means protection of information systems from any unauthorized access, use, disclosure, etc. So for example, if someone uses a computer without authorization, impersonating someone online, sharing a password, locking you out of your account, or another factor of information security is if you are taking steps to secure your own computer or account. So there are a couple different regulations that sort of govern what we talk about when we talk about information security. FERPA is a big one. COPA is one that I deal with the web filter and the computer systems that we use. EDGAR, SIPA is another one that we use, and HIPAA doesn't directly apply to school districts, but it does apply through medical billing. And I believe that we do have entities that handle some medical billing, so those also apply to us in those ways. We have different levels of secure information. Confidential includes personally identifiable information. Generally, that would be items that are either requested to not be shared, but we do share what's called directory information as part of a opt-out policy. And then we have sensitive information, which could lead to a breach of our systems. That's things like your account information, structure, configuration of the network, policies and procedures that you would need to do in order to get access. And then other information that the organization considers private or doesn't want publicly known, but is not necessarily the next level, which would be that restricted data. So restricted is do not share that information with anyone. Confidential is only share with people who need that information to get their job done. So if you have confidential information, you should use encrypted email systems such as our Google information is encrypted end-to-end. Google Drives are stored in an encrypted way, and you shouldn't share the content except with people who are authorized to view it or use it to prepare their work. We do make distinctions between agency internal work, which means that anyone inside of our organization can access it with a credential, but people outside the organization can't access it. And then we have public information, which can be put anywhere, sent anywhere. It's open. People use it to talk to us, or we can use it to talk to other people. So there's a few different factors that let us know what data is. So form or location, as far as cybersecurity. Form could be a computerized document, Word document, PDF. It could be a communication, such as a phone message, a text, Class Dojo, or those tools that teachers use to communicate with the public. All of those things are considered information. It is, doesn't matter what format the media is in, it's all considered information. And then the cyber side of it is location. So if it's on an electronical media, like a local hard drive, USB, as an attachment to an email, etc., then both of those together make it subject to cybersecurity or data information protection. So we have ways to authorize or to safeguard against unauthorized access. We have a responsible use policy. We have a data security plan, including not sending sensitive data by email or coding that information so that the person who is receiving it would know what you were talking about. Verify your websites before you visit a website to make sure that it's legitimate. Not sharing your passwords with anyone, including technology staff. And then staff should only have access to data required for their job functions. I do have that you can share your password with me as the cybersecurity and information steward of the district. You know, I can change it to whatever I want. It's just an aside. So, you know, feel free to share it with me and I'll change it back with you. It's one of those things where if you're not able to trust your cybersecurity person, then, well, I won't finish that sentence.
Should that be respective job function instead of perspective?
It could be. I forgot to mention this was, in order to do these trainings, we had to get them certified through DIR. We're using Cedar Hills
Their language?
certified language. I was able to change MISD and things like that, and then their specifics. But this is it's a required training that I wasn't allowed to really change much. So I
I'm just
apologize
curious.
for that, and I'll make sure I
I'm
get
just-
with them about it.
Struck me wrong.
Yes, sir. So best practices, lock up your information if it's written down. If you have any kind of USB thumb drive that contains sensitive information, make sure that you keep track of it. Password protect files that need password protection. And we employ this internally, but we have controls on who can access different folders. And then also with Google Drive, you have the ability to restrict who has access to those files. And then whenever we have like data uploads or things that are going to the state or to other agencies that we have signed data usage agreements with, we use secure file transfer or secure web transfer. Best practice is after you're done using the data, you don't need any more, then you should clear, purge, or destroy. Destroy is the most aggressive one, which means like grinding up a hard drive or smashing up a USB drive to the point where it would no longer function. Clear would just be deleting or clearing a cache of something on a laptop or a Chromebook. And then purge would require some extra steps like formatting a drive or using things like that. Okay, so threats. Threats are any potentially harmful computerized method of getting confidential, secure, restricted information. So the threat could be something that was passive. It could be something active. They can attack your computer. They can attack your files. And a threat could also attack you through, like, for example, a social method of attack, impersonating somebody, calling you up, sending you an email and saying, you know, I deserve access, and then you would accidentally give it up. Threat actors, I know these are a lot of words, but any circumstance or event with the potential to adversely impact organizational operations, including all those things, assets, individuals, other organizations. So even information that we share with other people, we tend to have data agreements that regulate the usage of those, and then we'll know if something comes in from outside, where it came from, that they also have responsibility to protect our data that we give them, etc. So most common that we will probably have heard about or seen just in general life would be a financial scammer as a threat actor, impersonating a superintendent in order to get a CFO to write a PO for a random item that has no relevance to anything else. That is a financial scam. I can say that we've gotten a few of those emails and we've taken care of them and there was no breach. Motive in that is just to get money or to get information that could lead to a larger way to get more money. And then, you know, we do have to deal with state-sponsored or like external countries that have interests inside, usually government entities, which is, you know, where all this is coming from. So if a big state like Texas has a data breach, that could be extremely lucrative, it could be extremely disruptive. And if your intention is to cause as much financial or operational harm as possible, then a cybersecurity attack would be, or a cyber attack would be a really good way to do that. And then you also have like politically motivated or revenge network access motivated type situations as well. Risk is anything that could potentially result in the loss of our information or assets. An attack would be the actions that a actor would take in order to gain access to those things. So we have to ask ourselves, how do we know when something is an attack, and how do we know that someone is a threat actor? And I'm just going to go over a few of those really briefly. Phishing is the one you hear about whenever you get an email that says, hey, I need you to click this link for me. It might say on it the superintendent's name or the CFO's name. It says, check out this file and send me the information. And then when you click that, they're just looking for you to click something that will open something on your computer that can cause a problem. Usually through malicious code, like a program that extracts your passwords without you knowing it, or turns your computer into a base of operations for inflicting other attacks. Weak passwords can actually be a threat vector because you know, those passwords that everyone likes to make people make, which has like an exclamation point or a number and a capital letter and all those things, and they don't really mean anything. Those are very hard for people to remember, but very easy for computers to figure out. So the longer the better. The more complex, not necessarily. So longer the better. And then unpatched or outdated software. And then of course, your things like your USB thumb drives. If you find one in the parking lot, for example, please don't pick it up. If you do pick it up, please don't plug it into anything. That's a big one. So how to respond and to report. Obviously, if you suspect that you have a threat actor that you're dealing with, then please report it to a person who can let you know what to do. For example, myself. We are attempting to limit the amount of risk, and by reporting anything that seems or feels suspicious, that's going to give you a really good chance to avoid clicking on or doing anything that could lead to a loss of information or assets. Basically just check. Now, something else is if you are using a secure device or you are attempting to participate in a secure environment with a device, to beware of free internet access. For example, if you were sitting in the parking lot and then you saw a open Marlin ISD Wi-Fi that said Marlin ISD free internet or something like that, you should be wary of using that, because anyone could set up a Wi-Fi hotspot with any name that they want it to be. If they don't put a password on there, then anyone can join, and then anyone who would be thinking that they were part of our network would be maybe sharing information via Wi-Fi and potentially causing some big problems. So we have a password on our Wi-Fi, and it's known by staff, but we also do monitor connections to our Wi-Fi. So if something were to happen, we could trace, what time this person logged in, what they may have done, and then that would lead to a whole series of figuring out what's going on. But as an individual, even if it seems very good, make sure that you can, like if you're at a place of business that has free Wi-Fi, make sure that you verify that Wi-Fi is in fact what they are offering, and typically that would be a better way to do that. I've already sort of gone through this, just other examples of phishing. A lot of times they're looking for that personally identifiable information and looking for passwords, or just looking for a quick payment. Yeah, make sure you're looking out for things like bad grammar, misspelling, generic greetings. They don't seem to know who you are, though they're emailing you, asking you for this important information. Then maybe pick up the phone and call that person, or next time you see them in person before you respond, say, hey, I got a really weird email from you. I'm not really sure what to do with that. Can you let me know if that was okay? Yep, it may look like it's coming from someone that you know. Again, make sure that you are, if it seems odd that you're getting a random request, for example, authorize a transaction, and they want you to click on a link to go to a bank account to authorize that transaction, immediately throw up a red flag. If you suspect that you may have been a target, please report it to me using the report phishing button on your browser, if you're in your school issued email, or by reporting it directly to me. If you get an email to your personal account that references something about school and it looks suspicious, please by all means let me know, either in person, or you can call my office number or call the school, or you can send me a separate email. And if I would like for you to forward me the email, I will let you know. Please forward me that email so that I can look at it. But in general, I'm not going to want you to do that, because then you're bringing that email into our system. Okay, so the next part is spoofing. This is why it's really important to be very suspicious if you get one of those phishing emails, because like you might get an email that looks like it is from Dr. Henson, for example. It might say Dr. Henson at Marlin, but then whenever you look at it more deeply, and well, there's special ways that you have to do this, so maybe it's outside the scope of this presentation, but when you click on a little information expander, then you will get more information about it. It's not from marlinisd.org at all. It might be from supermail.com. And why would Dr. Henson be sending you a confidential email on supermail.com whenever we have a secure system on premises. So again, either contact them personally or through a phone or whatever. Apps on your phones, apps are huge these days, but a lot of times they're not trustworthy. If an app on your phone asks you to allow it to make phone calls, change your contacts, email people, access your camera, and it has no business doing that, then make sure that you do not allow it to do that. If you download a simple web game that you use, when you're driving on a long car trip, and it wants to be able to call all of your friends, just don't let it. Delete the app immediately. It's going to be a malicious app. At the very least, it will be selling your data. And at the very worst, it will be actively using your phone for malicious purposes. So you guys do have access to Google. We do have access to Office 365. We have signed agreements whenever we accept those services that indicate that they know that we're an educational institution. We indicate that we acknowledge that some anonymized data is going to be retained by them. It's always things that we can sign off on. We kind of trust that much bigger schools with much more resources and much more staff than us have worked extensively with these large companies to make arrangements that are beneficial for everybody. But I still do review the terms of use whenever I sign up for a new account. It's important to understand that the servers outside there storing our data are not ours, but they should be also respecting our data and respecting our users. This is just an example of describing why it's important to understand your sharing options with shared folders and shared drives or shared emails. If you've accidentally hit reply all to a mass email and then you just you've emailed your entire organization something that is not something you wanted to send to everybody. So when you're using the computer, take your time, read through, make sure you understand what you're doing. If you don't, feel free to call and ask someone who can help you out. Digital footprint. Everything that you do is tracked and traced. Every usage of every computer that you ever do is stored indefinitely for the most part. Your internet provider tracks where you go. There are government agencies that have hooks in and can track where you go. Ultimately, this is a program or a way that we can be protected, because if you do report a significant case of a malicious threat, the FBI does step in. Most of the times, these things cross state lines or international lines. So they are very interested in tracking down large threat actors who are responsible for extremely large attacks. And this was something that was just kind of interesting. If you're talking about, for example, buying a new car in your house and you have something like an Amazon Echo or you have a TV that has YouTube or Netflix, pay attention next time you're online and see how many ads for that type of car that you get. This happens, it's real. Some of these big companies have admitted that they do it, but that it's completely fine because you agreed to it and also it's anonymous. But just be aware, all of this stuff is important. And when you're using your Marlin ISD account, you are representing Marlin ISD. So your digital signature and your digital situational awareness is extremely important to keep in mind. I've already mentioned the passwords. Length is really the more important thing. If you're going to save those passwords, make sure that you are the only person with physical access to that device, and make sure that you log out whenever you're done doing something that could potentially be sensitive. Again, if you find a USB drive in the parking lot, please don't pick it up. If you do pick it up, please don't plug it in. And we are responsible. There is a link to the stopthinkconnect.org. I will be sending this out to you all so that you can review it at your leisure. But I do believe that this covers board managers, for Marlin ISD, for our compliance. So thank you very much for your attention. And again, if you have any questions, please email me or call me and I will be glad to help you out. Thank you very much.
Can you answer a couple of
I
questions? there?
certainly can.
Does the district have servers?
The district does have servers. I don't want to go into too much detail because we are going out live right now. But we have file servers, print server, a server that controls our internal network
Okay.
and internal and external traffic.
But not our email.
Our email is in Google, which is in the cloud. And I have administrator access to all of everyone's accounts. So if you do suspect something, then I can go in and look at it.
All right. But is one better than the other?
In general, I would say that one is not better than the other. If you are extremely concerned about it, like if you, for example, were an organization that had extremely sensitive information, then you may have a internal server and then have very strict access controls. But I would say that, you know, as long as best practices are being followed, then the best part about having it in the cloud is that it's accessible for the users from anywhere. So whether you're at home or in another state or whether you're at work, you can still access it. You can use your phone. It is possible to do that with a internal network, but it's easier if it's in the cloud. The other thing is backup, disaster recovery, all those things. Redundancy can get very expensive. And if you have, you know, for email, for example, at least two different locations, these are multi-$1,000 servers with multi-$100 power bills. If our electricity goes out and it's longer than the time that we have for our battery backups to cover, then we may not have any access to email, whereas with the cloud email, we just flip over to our cell connection.
Okay. And is there anything that Region 12 does that
As
would
far as
improve on what we're
cybersecurity,
doing?
yes, sir. Not to get into too much detail, but our student information is backed up nightly. We don't have student information servers on premises. They have multiple locations that they have our data, and it's generally safeguarded, again, as long as we're following these secure password and device security type best practice rules. Then even if heaven forbid a tornado knocked the buildings off the map, we would not be losing any of our confidential or very important student information. Okay. Thank you very much.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay, and there's nothing to approve there, just
Yes, sir.
we're just information. So we'll move on to item 8, closed session. We're going into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074 for consideration of employee contracts. Oh, I'm sorry, and the time is 12:28. Yes, thank you, Billy. We are back in session from closed session. Time is 1:42, pardon me. We'll entertain a motion for items considered in closed session.
Okay, Mr. Vice President, I want to consider employee contracts. I'm going to list the contracts that we're going to offer. For Director of Student Services, Stacy Parker. Marlin Elementary Principal, Akeisha Edwards. Marlin Junior Academy Principal, Damika Simmons. Marlin High School Principal and Marlin High School, Assistant Principal and Athletic Director, Sheila Henderson. And a speech pathologist for the Falls Education Co-op, Maddie Griffin. I think that's it.
A second.
Motion's been made and seconded to offer contracts to the people named. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. No opposition, 3-0 was the vote, so that motion carries. Back in open session, we're also going to have the superintendent's report.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Vickers, to President Johnson, Mrs. Terry. This week has been a very fast-paced week. Have had an opportunity to meet with a lot of employees as well as meet with my actual team as we begin to plan out the next steps for the district. Tonight, we do a graduation at 7:30 at the football field, and tomorrow is the parade at 6 p.m. Our new hires, they're all very excited and they look forward to coming to Marlin ISD and they are ready to work. So I do look forward to going forward in the future and providing you all with comprehensive reports and updates, not only on the week, but also on the future happenings here in Marlin ISD. And that's all from our report.
Very good, thank you. Item 11 is the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Mr. Vickers, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented to us.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay, no nays, I'm sorry, excuse me. Motion carries unanimously, and that moves us to adjournment, and we are adjourned at 1:44, Billy?